Hello students, hope you all are doing well. In today's session, we are going to end the topic of natural resources with discussion on biogeochemical cycles like carbon and nitrogen cycles. In our earlier sessions, you have learned about water and oxygen cycles along ozone depletion and its effects. Learning objectives. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand the role of nitrogen cycle and nitrogen fixation by bacteria. Carbon cycle and its role in the atmosphere. The human intervention in disturbing these cycles. Keywords: rhizobiums, nitrosomonas, symbiosis, precipitation, endoskeletons, exoskeletons, sedimentary rocks, fossils, the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is the most abundant element in the atmosphere and a building block of proteins and nucleic acids. The nitrogen cycle is complex as the nitrogen is converted from an inert molecular form into a useful form. Nitrogen is constantly moving in a giant circle from the air through the soil into the bodies of plants and animals. Eventually, it goes back into the air. All living things need nitrogen mainly for growth, repair, and development. The atmosphere contains 78% nitrogen. Plants and animals can use it by converting atmospheric nitrogen into certain compounds. Plants may take up these compounds from the soil by some biochemical activities of bacteria like rhizobium, nitrosomonas, etc., and physiochemical activities by lightning. Let us see the stages of the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen fixation. Atmospheric inert nitrogen N2 is converted or is in fixed form by a biological process called nitrogen fixation. Bacteria like rhizobium or nitrosomonas etc. convert atmospheric nitrogen into organic nitrogen. The bacterial cells die and make nitrogen available to plants. In leguminous plants like peas and beans, the rhizobia live in the root nodules and establish symbiotic relationships. Nitrogen can also be fixed as nitrates by lightning and reach the soil through precipitation. Plants take up nitrates to form proteins and nucleic acids. Nitrification. The conversion of nitrates to ammonia by the nitrifying bacteria present in the normal and waterlogged soil helps in converting into proteins, nucleic acids, nitrates and nitrites. Nitrites are produced mainly by Nitrosomonas, while nitrates by Nitrobacter are also capable of utilizing nitrites and converting them into nitrates. Assimilation nitrogen compounds mainly as nitrates or ammonia ions NH4+ are taken up from the soil by plants and used in the formation of proteins. Animals eat these plants and synthesize animal proteins. Ammonification. Production of ammonia NH3 from nitrates and other nitrogenous compounds are called ammonification. This occurs when plants and animals die or when animals emit waste with the help of decomposers. Denitrification. The process occurs by the conversion of solid nitrate NO3 back to gaseous nitrogen N2. Nitrogen gets back into the atmosphere through a process by denitrifying bacteria in wet soils, processing nitrate to gain oxygen, leaving free nitrogen gas as a byproduct. This maintains the balance in the concentration of nitrogen on the earth and the atmosphere. Human intervention and nitrogen cycle. Humans are interfering with the natural balance by using synthetic nitrates like fertilizers that are washed into water bodies by rain and untreated domestic sewage into water bodies. Before these nitrates can be converted into atmospheric nitrogen, they are often carried off by rain or irrigation to the streams and rivers and into the groundwater. In some parts of the world, water has such high concentration of nitrates that it is unsafe for consumption. These excessive amounts of nitrates and other nitrogenous compounds in rivers and lakes causes too much algal growth and eutrophication. This results in decreased oxygen levels in the water bodies, causing death. Now, let's see the carbon cycle. Carbon is found in various forms on the earth. It occurs in the elemental form of soot, diamond, and graphite. In the combined state, it is found as carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide in the atmosphere, also as carbonate and hydrogen carbonate salts in various minerals. All life forms are composed of carbon containing molecules like proteins, carbohydrates, fats, nucleic acids, and vitamins. The endoskeletons and exoskeletons of various animals are also formed from carbonate salts. Carbon dioxide is a central element of life responsible for maintaining the earth as a greenhouse with suitable temperature conditions. CO2 makes up about 0.04% of the volume of air. How carbon levels are maintained in nature? Carbon is incorporated into life through various processes. Carbon is found in sedimentary rocks, fossil fuels, in the oceans, and the biosphere. Photosynthesis. The first step in the biological carbon cycle is the conversion of inorganic atmospheric carbon into a biological form. This fixing takes place in plants and other organisms known as producers in a process called photosynthesis. In this process, energy from sunlight is converted into chemical form, cycling and storage. The movement of carbon dioxide takes place from the atmospheric reservoir directly to green plants, to consumers and to microbial decomposer organism. The carbon from sedimentary rocks and fossil fuels is not directly available to plant for fixation. CO2 is available when fossil fuels are burned or insoluble carbonates are converted to soluble bicarbonates. The return of carbon dioxide to the atmospheric reservoir is accomplished in many ways, mainly through the respiratory process where the food molecules are broken down for energy and CO2. Combustion of fossil fuels and other carbon compounds, forest, fires, volcanic emissions, etc. also return carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Microorganisms break the plant and animal dead waste and release the carbon into the atmosphere as CO2. Carbon cycle and human intervention. Carbon buried under the ocean floor might take millions of years to return to the atmosphere. Throughout the Earth's history, the emission of CO2 or gases from deep below the planet's surface happens as geological events or volcanic eruptions. A large part of the atmospheric carbon dioxide that we have today was contributed by such geological events of the past. Human beings tap into the geological carbon cycle by extracting hydrocarbons like oil and coal for use in automobiles and power plants. Combustion of these hydrocarbons generate CO2 and CO gases as byproducts. Due to the excess use of fossil fuels and the industrial revolution, carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere have increased measurably. Humans have also altered the biological carbon cycle by increasing atmospheric CO2 levels through clearing forests and overusage of land. Clearing the forests and forest fires affect the levels of atmospheric carbon in two ways. First, during combustion, stored carbon is released directly as CO2, and second, the clearing of land takes away a key mechanism for removing excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere by photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is a primary greenhouse gas, and the increase in atmospheric CO2 results in the greenhouse effect and global warming. The greenhouse effect. A greenhouse is a small house made of glass that is used to grow plants. It traps the sun's rays and keeps the heat from escaping to maintain warmth inside. In the same way, some gases called greenhouse gases present in the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, and water vapor, trap heat from radiating back to the space and act like a blanket, keeping it warm and making life possible, without which temperatures would have fallen to sub-zero values. This phenomenon of naturally warming up is called greenhouse effect. Global warming is the recorded increase in the average temperatures of the Earth's atmosphere and oceans. Global warming affects the weather patterns on Earth and causes climatic change. Climate change results in higher sea levels, more rainfall, and severe droughts and floods. Points to remember. Nitrogen is converted from an inert molecular form N2 into a useful form by the process called the nitrogen cycle. The steps involved in it are nitrogen fixation, nitrification, assimilation, ammonification, and denitrification. Carbon is incorporated into life through various processes. The movement of carbon dioxide takes place from the atmospheric reservoir directly to green plants, to consumers, and to the microbial decomposer organisms. The return of carbon dioxide to the atmospheric reservoir is accomplished through the respiratory process, combustion, and microorganisms. Carbon dioxide is a primary greenhouse gas, and the increase in atmospheric CO2 results in the greenhouse effect and global warming.